that Kanavi just decided to win by himself and just did so much damage, got so much work done. And I think that I'm also very, very frightened about that. But let's get into the draft here for game number 1. A lot to figure out and a lot for KT to prove, especially as HLE look to continue their onslaught on the LCK. We will have Varus banned away, the Orianna banned away, the Rumble banned away, and all that sort of stuff.
Karma.
That one too. We've seen Karma sneaking through, though. We had that very unique decision to leave Orianna Karma to a team. Hopefully we never see that again. And so far, we're not going to.
Ezreal ban is pretty interesting here. Aiming's a good Ezreal player. Ezreal has been very good into Jarvan. And Hanwha Life eSports' most first-picked champion and most played is the Jarvan for Kanavi.
Yep.
So that is a reason. It also weakens a Karma pick. If they left Karma up, they can go Jarvan if they want to first over the Karma. There's no Karma Ezreal. I don't think they will do that. I think they'll happily give that to the Light if that is not banned here. But yes, an Annie ban as well, leaving a lot open here.
Yeah, I think the Karma ban is still warranted, I would say. Then they can lock the Karma if they would like to. Never mind, the Bard is going to be taken away here. And so I guess KT are okay with playing an Ashe Seraphine into said Karma lane if it does come on through.
That's exactly what I think is happening here.
And you could also just, like, if they lock Karma, for example, then you lock Ashe Xin Zhao, and then you have, like, that dream.
Well, there's the
Jarvan
angle that I was talking about earlier that's still a relevant trade-off here. But you go, because of your first pick, you get the Jarvan, and if they lock their duo, if you want to play the Karma lane into the Ashe Seraphine, you've got that opportunity. Like, if you're confident you can win that side of the matchup as HLE into the Karma that they pick here, you still have that opportunity because so much is left up. And if they don't pick it, for example, if they pick the Ashe Seraphine, you get the Karma. So, like, you have both sides you can play with here, but you got Kanavi's best pick in this Jarvan. So that's an HLE move. I think very few teams actually would have forgotten the Karma here, but only HLE goes Jarvan in this situation. Now you can go for Karma, Xin Zhao, and then save your 80 carry pick for 3.
Yep, I also kind of like what HLE have done. Like, Jarvan is pretty good into the Ashe Seraphine just because you can trap them in place. This would be a change-up, as the Snake will be locked in. Okay, so they do lock away the Karma, but Cassiopeia, which has been launched into popularity, largely because of what
Blackfire Touch is so good.
Yeah, good old Blackfire Touch is a little bit ridiculous.
So let's see what the answer is going to be here for
It's Blackfire. It's Deathfire Touch, Wolf. You confused me.
Oh my god, I did the Ox thing that he said he was scared of doing, but I actually
dang it!
Yeah, Blackfire Torch.
He might buy a Blackfire Torch, and then we can just call it Blackfire Touch. It'll do both.
Is a pretty big curveball, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of teams have been doing this, especially, by the way, Delight and Gumayusi love to play Nautilus Misfortune into the Karma lane or into the Bard lane. I did not expect it in this draft, though.
I do think
Sivir into
goes
Jarvan.
Pretty hard. The Jarvan issue is an issue.
But it's not one that you can't deal with this draft because you're going to have a lot of shielding. You're going to have the Cassiopeia to back you up. And later on, the Sivir just kind of looks at the Jarvan and kills him if the follow-up damage isn't there when he goes in. But kind of an interesting draft we have here so far. It's complete single-target dive here for Hanwha Life eSports so far. And the Akali really suits that vibe. And I think that makes a ton of sense to ban it. You could even ban Ahri here, and I wouldn't hate it because of how it works with this draft so incredibly well.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't mind that. But
what they want to do, they'll ban the Aurora, which is same story, same Zeka, explosive follow-up. Like, this is quintessential HLE right here, this draft, if they get the Aurora.
They're basically saying, you want to play Rise into Cassiopeia, don't you? That sounds like a really cool idea, and you'll have a lot of fun. Cuzz won't, though. The Xin Zhao are going to be banned away. I imagine they're going to ban another jungler here as well. And so his pool is going to be somewhat thinned. Nocturne is probably the next on the list.
Nocturne and Lee Sin, I think, are two picks that we could consider. The Trundle has been pretty good for Cuzz. He really enjoys to play it.
And also pretty good into Jarvan, especially in the earlier stages. And you can use the pillar to interrupt the Misfortune. I don't mind it.
Yeah, it's really great into Misfortune. That's a good point you raise. See what he does want to go for here. Lee Sin feels really good into this draft because the Nautilus is going to struggle to get access to you, and you have a lot of different angles of attack against this immobile Misfortune. Pamtheon, though, great for power with this Sivir and side lane control. For a pick we don't know yet, Perfect will be playing, but we know that he loves his side laning top laners. Zeka's looking for Azir.
I feel like he's just going to play Zaahen. That's what I think is going to happen. I don't know why. Maybe they're just going to celebrate his birthday with one of his more successful picks, as this would be a blast from the past. We haven't seen very much Azir more recently, and so Zeka going to go for more of that team fight option. And
he is 100% playing Zaahen with the Sion locked in here.
I think that it would be a pretty good idea.
He loves that pick. It's great into the Sion. It gets a free lane, and now you have... Like, I actually don't like Sion in this draft. It's not a front-to-back comp with a strong hyper carry for AD carry. You know Perfect's got the best Zaahen and LCK. You're playing into Sivir Cassiopeia. There's plenty enough damage to cut through the Sion's health bar. I think the Azir is going to have to do serious work in this draft. A lot of great engages and a lot of really strong damage set up here if you're going to win this game. I think he's probably going to have to go for that Glutinous Greaves build that we saw yesterday on the Azir in order to actually be able to really put out the damage he wants to play through the Sion. Otherwise, this draft for KT in the late game is pretty insane.
Yeah, it does so much damage. The thing is, if HLE get any sort of lead, I don't think KT can ever hurt them, right? Like, that is going to be their problem. They have so much engage as well with the Jarvan Nautilus combination. If they are in a position where they want to be making plays, then it's, well, I mean, they're always going to be making plays, but if they're going to be successful then afterwards, then it could be very, very scary for KT. But I think, like you say, there are so many tools. Like, picking Azir into Cassiopeia is, yeah, you can outrange her, but if there's ever a gank from a Pamtheon, how do you ever escape?
You're just going to have a bad time. I think this is a really risky draft here for HLE. A few curveballs were thrown by KT Rolster here, but they ended up with a draft that, as long as they can keep this Sivir protected, should do very well if they can get out of the early mid-game.
That's absolutely true. There is the Sivir into Jarvan problem that we have often seen avoided here in the LCK. See how they mitigate it as we get under the rift. Oh my goodness. Hanwha Life eSports have some very, very loud fans, and I just checked around the room. I'm like, oh, I must be on the Hanwha side because that was deafening. No, I'm on the KT side. That was ludicrous. Let's see whether the fans are going to be rewarded here today, though, because as you mentioned already, Wolf, we are a little bit worried about the old drafting situation, but draft hasn't been the issue for KT in their losses that they have suffered. Obviously, they were able to take the win over QMDRX, but that was a close series, and a hook is going to connect already as aiming, putting that barrier on cooldown. Heal's going to be used across the board as well, so good trade here for HLE to start this one off.
They end up with a massive summoner advantage here. Guma keeps his barrier, so that's going to be pretty huge, especially with the early damage that a MF can put out early on in these types of trades. Nautilus already has his shield. You know, when you're looking for those trades, generally speaking, he will once he levels up. Then you can really start to be aggressive towards the Sivir. Spell shield's on a pretty long cooldown once aiming gets it. But I do think when you look at the lanes here, there's a lot of wave clear, there's a lot of push, right? You've got Sivir, you have Cassiopeia, and so getting ahead here for KT is amazing. But even from behind, you can just kind of clear waves and scale up. And it's really hard to siege as HLE. So, I mean, we'll have to mention that this is a Karma Sivir lane. So this lane is going to naturally be pushing in, and Delight's always just going to have to fish for those all-in exchanges. As we've already seen, he was able to win the Summoner trade from his last one. Zeka's not having a good time.
No, and I think this is going to continue. I also think that Zeka knew that this is how it was going to work. So I don't know whether HLE are going to be exactly surprised about how this early game is going. I have a theory, though. And it just sparked in my brain.
Perfect 4-0, by the way, on this pick. I just want to point that out.
Yeah, Perfect is pretty good. The Zaahen, or as some would say, Zaahen, which we have seen mentioned. Incorrect, but funny. But no, this is very good for Kanavi just ganking all the time. There's going to be pushing lanes all over the place for him to feast on. And this bottom lane is certainly going to be a great one, as we mentioned before. Aiming is not exactly going to be too happy about dealing with a Cataclysm. Down he comes.
Yeah, and Cuzz is just going to come straight over here. And here comes the 3v3. Ward gets dropped, and I think they need to opt out.
Oh, Anchor goes just wide. As aiming not quite getting in there. There is the snare onto Kanavi, who had to go back in. And that's going to be first blood going over to Effort. Like you were saying, Wolf, I don't know what they expected, as now Effort is looking to take Delight for a walk as well. Gets in front of the Anchor, and that'll be 2-0 for KT.
I understand the thought process is Kanavi. You're like, well, I'm going to bail this lane out. You mentioned it right a moment before. Like, he's got a lot of lanes he can gank, but this is the most important one. Cuzz is ready, and Pamtheon's damage is just higher at this point. This hook also doesn't land, and then there's a root onto Kanavi. He decides to go back in because of course he does. He's Kanavi. And MF's damage that early on in the game is great, but like you just lost so much before the fight even really broke out, before Guma could really do anything. And this ends up being 2 here for KT, almost a third onto Guma, who will have to have his back delayed here.
Yeah, so Guma now just going to have to go back. His barrier was actually used in that last exchange as well, so Aiming's barrier back up off cooldown. Guma's just going back down. So, not exactly the greatest of starts here for HLE, as KT move to 1.3k in the lead.
It's just a kind of bizarre, like, brute force attempt. And you're running this Nautilus comp, so you really do want to get those fights where you can, but the hook doesn't land, right? And then they're just kind of up a creek without the paddle. And the question is, did Kanavi need to go back in there, or maybe could he have escaped and they just lose a lot of prio? He just did not make that choice, right? He did not opt in for the escape. He was like, well, we're going to try to turn this into a win. Instead, it's 2 kills in the bottom lane.
Yeah, I think he realized that either they were going to run away and lose more, and someone was probably going to die, or they try and make the most of it. I think that was probably what he assumed. But you never really know what they're thinking in the moment. It was a great snare from Effort, though, who's now looking to use it again, as Gumayusi will get snared up. Boomerang Blade comes across as well, but not going to do too much damage, as now Effort could be in a little bit of trouble. He's got double buffs, by the way.
And Aiming still has barrier, because he just got it back, right? So Guma does not have his barrier from the previous exchange you just mentioned, so I think he's not in a safe spot. And let's see if Kanavi wants to opt in again here. This time effort is very low, but he's still sitting on that heal. So I think there's still some play here for KT as they push this wave in.
Yeah, full information over to both teams right now, but even knowing, I imagine HLE aren't exactly too psyched about it. Plate does go over to Aiming here, as Effort just biding his time, looking for a Mantra Q angle.
Let's not forget, okay, hold on, we still have a bit of a fight.
Yeah, a little bit of a snare opportunity, but doesn't quite land. And they are just taking a lot of poke.
Yeah, I mean, right now,
dealing with the wave.
They're keeping Kanavi here, because he has to be here. And the mid lane is not going Zeka's way, right? The top lane is not going Zeus' way. The Zaahen is freely starting to scale up here a little bit. And so, even though they're not going to commit to the dive, you know, it generated a decent CS lead here for Aiming, and Kanavi's just kind of stuck here. And finally, they're going to get the dragon, as we're going to see perfectly for an all-in timing, potentially.
Yeah, just throws down the ulti. Zeus does still have his, so honestly the Sion going to be feeling pretty happy in this moment.
Yeah.
Has the Bramble Vest already, Perfect still building slowly towards the Trinity Force, as KT will very comfortably move over and take this dragon. And this is the ridiculous thing, because you were talking about it, right? Like, holding Kanavi here. Yes, Cuzz is there, but that doesn't actually matter if the other lanes are just winning, right?
Exactly.
And the other thing that you need to be scared of if you are pushed up really far is getting ganked. Well, you don't have to if Kanavi is just in full vision at all times, as Cuzz will be able to take down this Drake. Kanavi was in the vicinity, but it looks like KT are just going to bail after grabbing the objective.
The observers showcased the second that Cuzz went to Dragon and Kanavi was off vision, that that BDD let Zeka push in. And then he was under turret. So he was like, you know what? Kanavi might just be like, that didn't work out bottom side, but he's doing Dragon, maybe I'll go mid. So he didn't give him an in there either. And this is, you know, Kanavi's worst nightmare, man. This is ungankable lanes.
Yeah, no, you can't have that.
Lost the 3v3, 400 gold behind. That's not where Kanavi lives. He doesn't know this game state.
Well, I mean, we have to cast our minds back, but there was a time where we could remember Kanavi being reminded of those sorts of moments.
Yeah, very early on this year, you know, a lot of us were very low on Hanwha Life eSports, and their synergy was not really built up yet. That was how it looked, but it's been a while since then, and we kind of thought those days were over. But KT really with quite a robust early game with this draft.
BDD just going to throw down the scream. There's the snare as well out of effort. Zeka should be going down as Cuzz just swoops over and grabs the kill. Kanavi will get stunned up as well. Takes a lot of damage. Noxious Blast connecting. Twin Fang gets the flash out of Kanavi. And Delight is still in amongst it, on the hunt. Going to get thrown down here towards this bottom lane as Aiming finds a little bit of boomerang damage. And Gumayusi able to turn around and get a little bit, but oh, there's another barrier on cooldown. And yeah, Guma in the 1v1. I mean, he does a lot of damage back, right? But that is Summoner Spell advantage. It's bullet time! Aiming, you had barrier.
So I was watching this whole exchange and I was like, so is he going to die to the bullet time or not? Because it was coming up and I think he was kind of like, oh, I guess he was further behind than I thought. He didn't hit level 6, so he stays and he dies. And now Effort is also not going to enjoy what happens next. But he had flash and barrier there, and I thought what he was going to try to do was flash for the kill if Guma was trying to step up and get 6, but instead he just kind of slowly died to it and didn't use the summoners.
Yeah,
that was kind of weird.
I think it was just greedy.
Look at this,
walk out of it, but this was pretty sexy.
Predicts the dash here. Zeka cannot ult, and then he just gets sniped by Cuzz. Nothing Kanavi can do to impact this play. Beautifully set up. Gets the flash out of Kanavi as well. And Cuzz, you know, unlike the last few weeks, doesn't flash to follow. He just calms down and says, you know what, we'll take this advantage. As right here, Guma needs to kill a few of these minions to get 6. Aiming knows that, right? So he's like, all right, how many minions is it going to take? And I think at this moment, he's like, he must have been further behind. Maybe I can flash on him and use my barrier to kill him.
He was 6 for a while. Like,
I don't know. That just doesn't make sense to me. It had so many different ways out of that.
Just press barrier, man! Oh, dear. Well, Perfect is now trying to do some damage to Zeus. Does fully stack up that passive, but isn't able to do much more than that. He's just living his best life. Obviously, the Zaahen not going to be doing the most in the earlier stages, but we know how much of a menace he can be in later game team fights, especially in the hands of Perfect.
Yeah, this bottom lane exchange where aiming kind of messed it up really is a huge win for Guma, right? Guma was able to punish him there. I don't know if it should have happened, but anyways, Guma pressed the button, he got the kill, and that means there's at least one piece of good news here for HLE, as he no longer has a CS deficit, and picks up all that gold from that kill. He's got a coal to cash in and 40 stacks here as well. It's not going to fix this lane yet because it's still a Karma Sivir pushing in, but it's definitely good news for getting this Misfortune into a playable state in the mid game.
Yeah, I feel like Guma and Aiming have very different plans in mind when the end of the game is going to be approaching, right? Gumayusi wants to line up for that perfect bullet time, allow that wombo combo to work out, and Aiming just wants to do as much DPS as he possibly can by hitting what's in front of him. I do think Sivir can be extraordinarily strong, but there is still the Jarvan problem that KT do need to solve later on in this one. The issue that HLE has is that there are a lot of threats on KT.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's a 4-threat comp. It's pretty scary.
It's really scary, especially with how accelerated Cuzz is right now in this game. So every lane is gankable. He has a global ultimate. He has flash advantage for a few more seconds here over Kanavi. There's just so many things to consider. His Perfect is no longer dominating the lane like he once was. That Bramble Vest is pretty high value here for Zeus in this lane, but he's also a major threat in upcoming team fights in a massive front line. The fact that BDD is this accelerated as well feels really good for KT. The early to mid-game woes we thought they might face here if Kanavi had his way in the early game are just not really a thing.
Yeah, and right now, they're looking for a bit of an angle towards Gumayusi. X-Flash, that was cute. I thought that Delight might go for something there, but I'm glad he didn't, because it could have been very scary. Still, they are going to go in, looking for a bit of an angle here, as the snare might connect onto Delight. Bullet time. Effort flashes away. That's what you're supposed to do, Aiming, is now he's going to get put in the Cataclysm. Does finally flash after it goes down, and now Cuzz able to get that kill. Effort now just going to sacrifice himself as a Petrifying Gaze. Hits nothing, but Guma's still going to go down. Still HLE are fighting back as Zeus is teleported in, and BDD, he just needs to try and stand and fight, and that ain't going to work. 2 for 3 in favor of HLE.
I think the teleport call was a great one because there is a dragon available here. If they lose that skirmish, the dragon goes over and KT get double dragon. Instead, it's going to be Kanavi who picks up that extra kill, but also the Drake here in tow. Well, I mean, Cuzz is in live kind of lurking around, so we'll wait and see, but look at how much damage this initial Q setup here for Cuzz does before the fight even starts. And that, for me, was kind of like, all right, this fight is probably done, but look at how much gold is going over to Perfect in the meantime, and Cuzz does get the steal.
Yeah, he gets the steal. Kanavi is now looking for Effort. Zeka is also over here, and Effort is very, very dead. So the steal does come in. First turret does go over, as, man, Karma is so annoying. You mantra that W and you live forever. But KT with the objectives, HLE with the kill.
Yeah, I think this is 100% worth for KT. I think they're in a very comfortable position in this game right now, but in that replay, things got a little bit funky, right? Guma actually had a great sidestep, was able to avoid BDD's ultimate. That was a fight-changing moment, even though he ultimately still died. So we'll watch this. So I was mentioning it when we jumped into the replay that Cuzz was kind of lurking here, and there's no resources given to Kanavi on holding this. They just didn't expect Cuzz to come in. He is a Pamtheon overall, but he had a Blast Cone. Good flash here from Kanavi is going to allow him to escape Cuzz's damage, and then they will take Effort out, even though he buys some time. But like you said, the top turret goes down its first brick. And this comp is just scaling.
Yep. And
Ocean Soul not great, but, you know, 2 dragons start.
Yeah. And honestly, if HLE get an Ocean Soul, they're pretty psyched about it. KT, though, also pretty happy with that because HLE may not necessarily have all of the damage, right? Bullet time is going to be devastating, but afterwards, Gumayusi isn't necessarily as adept on this misfortune as far as consistent damage is concerned.
They don't know.
With Gumayusi, actually.
He knows now.
Champion is now perfect. Is looking to make his way in. Effort is looking to make his way out via the Death Chamber, but maybe there's a kill in it for KT as Cuzz going to bounce out of the Cataclysm towards Delight. Aiming does get knocked up by the depth charge as Cuzz will be taking a lot of damage, but it was, I believe, a ricochet that took down Delight in the end.
What a
Zeka
crazy
also still dead.
Macro call here from KT to send Perfect to help kill the Azir, knowing that the Sion cross map doesn't have teleport and is a Sion, so can't really do that much damage to the turret, so it's not like they're going to be losing this turret very quickly, and there's not much of an answer to respond. This is a really cool play here. Send the Zaahen on this flank down here. Zeka just does not expect it. I think he realizes pretty quickly, okay, something's up. They don't have vision of the Pamtheon. He's like, oh, that's a Zaahen, that's not a Pamtheon. The Pamtheon shows up mid, where they are making the play there as well. So look at where Cuzz is right now. They don't have vision of him. He could be anywhere, basically. They know he's anywhere except the red buff. He comes in here after effort, sacrifices himself to set this one up, and they just do so much damage to Delight here, and Guma's damage is mostly ignored by Cuzz. So they end up getting that turret in the bottom lane and the additional kills. Crazy lead down here for KT. Again, going into the late game, sure, Guma has 1,000 gold the advantage, but what he does later is very different from what this Sivir is going to do. And 1,000 gold, I think, doesn't necessarily work for MF if the rest of your team is behind. Yeah,
it's the rest of the team being behind that's the problem, because certainly does feel like a win more champion in a lot of instances, and you can certainly win a whole lot more, especially like you get to a late game where the Sion's like incredibly difficult to kill, right, and all this sort of stuff. Like you can see how this composition's supposed to work. Like if Zeka is actually able to do some consistent damage. The problem is he's almost 30 CS behind and is really struggling into BDD, and KT will have the damage to take down anyone on HLE if things keep going the way they are going.
He went for Sork shoes, by the way. Zeka did not go for the Greaves build. Realize, so just looking for a little bit more side lane power, but he is so far behind that I don't know if that's going to work out for him in this game. I like the build for the enemy comp, but it feels like it's not going to work out in terms of your hard carrying of the game necessarily in this game state.
Bit of burst out from aiming and effort there. Poke does come in. Rift Herald is started, as Kanavi was thinking about coming on over and seeing what he could do about it. Aiming is almost at the stage where he can just kind of clear waves without too much thought.
Perfect is smashing the side, by the way, because the cool thing about Zaahen into tanks, especially Sion, is Sion needs to use his charged Q to clear the wave, and once he uses that, you can just auto him freely. You don't do a lot of damage to him, but you stack your passive, and then the Sion can't really interact with you until he has his next Q, which you can then outplay. So he just always has free pressure when you can just basically charge your passive on Sion repeatedly. Sion is just not going to enjoy that, and so Perfect just continues to have that pressure. Their top side on, or sorry, it's in the side lane. On the top side, there is BDD pushing into this, you know, Azir that's a little bit behind here, and he's just going to allow for this Herald to go over without even a contest for Hanwha Life eSports. 2,000 gold lead is not the greatest and biggest gold lead we've ever seen, but this is kind of KT's thing, right? They're not the team that gets massively ahead. They get marginally ahead and then just start to choke you out of objectives and the map.
Yeah, and now, I mean, Soul Point is going to be up in 13 seconds time. HLE, I think, have to commit to something to try and stop this dragon stacking from occurring. Because if KT manage to take this, then the next one, there's going to be a Baron available as well. The problem is, Herald is going to be used to break open this mid lane. They will have priority there immediately. This just guarantees tempo moving towards this next dragon. And Aiming's also going to throw some skills towards Gumayusi. The spear does not connect, and not another charge out of Shelly, but not the end of the world there, as KT will turn their attention down towards this dragon now. It's BDD moving on up. HLE, you can see, thinking about a contest. Zeka does have his teleport at the ready, but so is Perfect.
It's really hard to get the setup that they want for this misfortune here without some help. At least Zeka is going to get the faster TP in here. We'll see if Perfect wants to commit, or if KT are just like, you know what, it's Ocean Dragon. I'm not necessarily that interested in starting this up ourselves and risking a poor fight.
This could actually be 2 items for Perfect as well, as he does go back before teleporting in. Zeka didn't do the same thing, as now Strikebreaker is complete, so that is the 2 items, but they engage onto Cuzz. That's the dragon secured by Kanavi, is aiming down to 50%. They're looking to try and take down this Sion, who is very tanky. In goes Kanavi, and there is the ulti from Perfect, but he doesn't get to stack the passive. Still, the Petrifying Gaze is massive, and aiming flashes the Emperor's Divide. Still, BDD's triple kill. So far making a quadra, and it could be the pentakill, but he goes down in the end as now Cuzz, he wants to find it himself. He flashes, he's still at flash. What the hell? And he finds the kill under Delight, and now Zeus is like, just hit me for goodness sake, and he will be able to take him down. As that's the unofficial ace here for HLE. What a bloodbath.
That was a huge, huge bloodbath. 9 kills total there at the end as Zeus survives, but the setup here is not great for KT, and they're forcing the fight into this. This hook here from Delight is super high value. Then the Misfortune ultimate takes out half of Aiming's health, and then KT decide, okay, we have enough damage to push into the Sion. And I think if we were a few items later into this game, it would absolutely could have worked out, but instead it takes a lot of heroics here for them to win this fight, at least for the initial part of it, right? The flash from BDD, or rather the gaze from BDD, the flash from Aiming over the Emperor's Divide is what gets them into a fight where it's not like completely a wash. They do technically lose the fight as Cuzz still makes this into a kill here onto Delight with his flash commitment, but it was a mess, as you say. I don't know if this is enough for Hanwha Life eSports to say they're back into the game, because Guma was already ahead and he was the one who got all this money. Like, I think if Zeka gets a lot of those kills, I'd feel a lot better for Hanwha Life eSports, but ultimately they got the Dragon, they prevent Soul Point, they win the team fight, they stymie the pressure a little bit here for KT, but I think it's going to take more than this win to feel like they're in control, because this Sivir is still getting bigger. This Cassiopeia is already quite large.
Yeah, I think they need a Lord Doms on Aiming, otherwise Zeus will just never die. This guy's feeling next to immortal, and currently his mortality has not been proven on Summoner's Rift just yet. I am frightened for what Gumayusi is now going to be capable of, right? He's got 3 items. Mortal Reminder is now done, and yeah, it'd be great if Zeka was in the game, but actually the best place to put your money is to put more money into the guy that's fed, technically, right?
Sure.
So if they can't get on top of Gumayusi, he will just do that quadra kill thing again.
That is the thing. That is the thing. Because he's quite immobile. He is quite easy to get on top of oftentimes, but KT are going to start this Baron up here. They think they have enough damage, and Hanwha Life eSports are going to be pretty caught off guard by this. Zeka does not have TP. He's going to have to rush over. Zeus does not have TP. I think they're going to have to get a steal, or this is just gone.
Yeah, the train is coming on over here as the Sion's making his way up. HLE looking to try and get on in here. Effort at 50% after that Baron went on through, but
I'm not sure if
everyone
KT
else is pretty healthy.
Had to back off there, but they just did not want to risk it.
I think sometimes you go for the opportunistic play, and if you can get out safely after you're found out, then that is a good thing to do.
They got the Sion ultimate, but yeah, I don't know about starting it again now that they're all here.
Yeah, that might not be the optimal plan.
Yeah.
They do have teleport advantage as far as top lane coming up very, very soon. So Perfect will have that one. As now Cuzz looking for an angle here, but in goes Kanavi as well. Petrifying Gaze onto 2. As the bullet time is looking for just a Cassiopeia, and he'll find it. Still, Cuzz is able to take down Delight, and now Kanavi's in a lot of trouble. He'll go down as well, as there's the Grim Deliverance, and this time the passive gets stacked, and Perfect takes down Gumayusi. This is the problem we were talking about. If he dies, all their money's gone.
Last team fight, he couldn't get it, but this time he does. A huge difference maker here is Guma is dead, and Zeus is just a health bar, and that's all he is.
But he's a lot of that, as this is taking a very long time, and Zeka's Sand Soldiers are actually getting some work done. Perfect. Just going to back away. And
actually buying a lot of time for these respawns.
The Baron may not go down.
Yeah, I don't think so. Guma's up in 10 seconds here. KT just could not do the damage, but they still end up winning the exchange, as Kanavi goes so deep here without follow-up. And like you said, he's only able to really, with the help of Guma, focus down BDD, but look at what Zaahen is doing on the other side, right? Perfect gets on top of Guma. There is really no protection. The Sion can't do enough. Is unable to deny the passive, and so Guma goes down, so it's a 3-for-1. No Baron for KT just yet, but perhaps they just rinse and repeat as LDR gets closer and closer. Looks like he's actually going Mortal Reminder. Yep, another problem here for the comp of HLE.
Well, Cuzz going in one more time. Kanavi and Delight are looking to try and get rid of him. But Cuzz is looking very antsy at the moment. Really wants to get a fight started as the Miasma goes down. Zeus almost took a damage. There we go, he took a damage. See that? It was kicking down for a second.
Yeah, he took just a little bit there. Cloud, Soul Point here still on the cards here for KT potentially, but there's also that Baron to consider. And because it's Cloud, you don't have to send it for this, as they are putting a lot of damage into that Sion.
Yep, trying to stop him from being that immovable tank in the front line. They do get 50% of the way through that health bar.
And with no exchange either. He's getting some honey fruit, that's very annoying.
Pullback does come on through here, but Zeus has the big old shield, so he'll be all right, as the anchor is going to somehow hit onto BDD. The bullet time this time will get flash. The Petrifying Gaze doesn't find the mark, and the flash does come out. BDD will find the kill, as now Kanavi will be going down. Cuzz is going to get traded, but KT once again find the angle, and Gumayusi, he's very quickly running out of front line. He might actually be able to get something towards Perfect here, but he goes up into the sky, knocks up Guma, and will be able to pick up another kill. Oh my goodness, I cannot wait for the interview with Perfect after this series, as he is going ballistic on his birthday.
Yeah, man, I saw he did like a fan meet for his birthday on his Instagram as well. I highly recommend you guys follow him on Instagram. He makes a lot of great content there. It's very funny. But look, Delight here still connects. It's actually not a good thing, though, because he dies instantly, and the bullet time angle is great, but it's just not able to do enough damage. It doesn't hit all of the targets, right? And then aiming a BD are sitting at like 1/3 health, but that's where they like it when the front line is gone, and now they can just run them down. BD and crew are going to get this Baron in live.
Wait.
Or not.
Yeah, Effort's just dead. Nice work, Baron, as Cuzz finally comes on over with an ultimate. That was an opportunistic Baron attempt.
Yeah, I do think HLE probably can't do this either in exchange, because Guma's so far behind they don't have the wave in mid. But that was a bit weird. How much will it matter, though? I don't know. The Dragon might go over because of this. I think Kanavi probably should head over there and help his team start this one up, because it would be second Dragon for them to put us at 2 apiece. And Effort will respawn in 5 seconds. Pretty nice window here for them to do that. Now, KT are trying to use this for another Baron attempt.
If at first you don't succeed, back to the Baron.
Yeah, there is control vision, so I don't think this trap is going to really work for KT.
Yeah, full information was there for HLE as they walked over a ward in order to get on over there. Double up will at least be spell shielded this time around from aiming.
I want to say I think KT are in control of this game, but I'm starting to get a little confused, as we'll see a little pip replay of them starting this up early, trying to juggle the aggro. Perfect has to step back, and then shield comes down. There's no shield for Effort.
I mean, he does have one more. Delight was really heads up. Being able to get on in there, make sure that they had eyes on the Baron. Otherwise, it would have just gone down, right? With no vision available for HLE.
This is a Scuttle secure, which is significant here for this upcoming fight. So many of these fights have been almost killing the carries for KT, and then the carries kill the front line while Perfect is killing Guma on the other side, right? Like, that's what almost every fight has looked like. So HLE need to make sure that they can either fight differently to peel for Guma, or make sure they kill those carries on the initial salvo. Speaking of...
Yeah, Effort is probably just dead. There he goes. Aiming takes most of a bullet time here at the same time, but Kanavi is going to get traded. The turret does eventually go down, but a 1-for-1 jungler for support is probably still in favor of KT. The turret does put things better for HLE.
Yeah, the money-wise, definitely a better trade for HLE, but in terms of what you can do on the map now, definitely advantage to KT, as Kanavi is no longer a threat for a potential objective. This time the engage is onto a Karma, and Kanavi's trying to link, and they call it out. And they're just like, nope, you can't. Kanavi is trying to fish for these angles, but he keeps getting punished as a result of it. It'll be his 5th death of the game, and maybe like the 9th time's the charm here for KT on this Baron. I think this time, surely with Cuzz having the advantage here, Kanavi's just respawning. He doesn't have a global ultimate. Surely this time they get the Baron. Right, Atlus?
If they just force, they will get the Baron. The question is, will they get out afterwards? And there goes the Baron. And look, the answer is yes.
Karma makes them run fast, and they get out.
Yeah, and also Sivir can make them run fast, but not right now, because that one's on cooldown.
Okay, well, HLE, I think the way this comp functions, or isn't functioning, is it's like not Guma's fault, right? Like he's angling, he's falling up really well.
Definitely doing well.
Like I want to give him massive credit, because he has looked really good in these team fights despite the deficit, and he's the main character here for HLE. The problem is he needs so much setup, and KT's positioning has just made it so difficult for them to actually line those kills up. And now we're in a game state, like I said before, where Kanavi goes on top of aiming, and aiming likes it that way, right? The BDD damage is really, really, really high now with his Void Staff completed as well. And he's level 16, so this Sion is just not as tanky as he was before, and the engaged champions just melt. The Nautilus, the Jarvan are really having a bad time.
Yeah, and at least Delight does, have a couple of items. The health is starting to get built up, right? He is not going to be the although he looks very squishy. It's a little bit of a shame. And now KT are looking to get a bit of a siege on. They have a very short-range comp, right? So sieging is actually quite difficult, but they annihilate minion waves so incredibly quickly, and HLE don't necessarily have snipers of their own. And the anchor is going to just barely go wide. Looks like a bit of a push into slink back towards the Drake could be a bit of an option here, but the bottom lane, that's an entire wave that's just getting annihilated by an inner turret.
Yeah, KT are just focused on the 4-1 here to try to open up the base because they want more than just a back off and drag, and they want to start opening up these inhibitors. And they have really good wave clear with this Sivir. And the Cassiopeia as well is going to do serious work if an engage comes through from HLE. BD's peeling ultimates all game long have been amazing. I mean, shutting down Zeka's initial shuffle attempt in the early game was the first of which, but he has had a great game on this Cassiopeia that he blinded here into HLE. Is here comes an engage?
Yeah, flash from Kanavi, gets himself out of the Cataclysm as well. A lot of flashes were employed, but now Cuzz just throws himself into the mix. They take down the turret though, and Cuzz has a GA already completed. He's going to respawn, is now the stun onto Kanavi. He doesn't get the engage, and there is the Grim Deliverance, and it is looking grim for HLE. Not so much for KT, especially not for Perfect, who's looking to clean up the rest of these kills. Delight still has an inner turret that he can head over to, and does have his AD carry here at the same time. But he may not have a Nexus for very much longer, as Nexus Turret 1 will go down, and Nexus Turret number 2 is very shortly going to go down as well. Gumayusi doesn't have bullet time, and this Nexus will not have health as KT's revenge has started here in round 2 of LCK 2026.
Very impressive early mid-game here from KT. Sure, there were some fumbles on the Baron, but their lead and their composition was so good.